All right, well, let's kick off. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm delighted to talk to you about creativity because I think it's such an exciting and fun subject to talk about. And just to introduce myself, I'm Beth Collier, and I help people improve their communication, their creativity, and their leadership skills because I believe these are the skills that really improve your life when you improve them. And they also improve the lives of others. And these are some of the places I worked. I've started my career in Los Angeles in film and television. And then I spent the last decade working in financial services here in London. But what I really love and what really gets me excited is helping people improve their skills. So improving their communication, their writing, their public speaking, their storytelling, their creativity, so they can be more innovative, and their leadership skills. So today we're going to talk about creativity because it is such an exciting skill and definitely one that is really appropriate for us to be talking about now during this situation that we're in. So let me just set the scene for what we're going to cover here. So if you've done some of these webinars and sessions before, you're probably getting to be more and more familiar with Zoom, as we all are. We are going to use the chat box today. So we can't see the pictures of everyone attending because the group is, because of the group size, but we will use the chat box. So if at any point you have questions, and there are some things I'll ask you questions about, we'll just use the chat box as we did earlier to talk about the first question there with TV shows. So what we're going to talk about today is first what creativity is, because there are a lot of misconceptions about creativity, and then why it's important, why it's such an important skill today, why you've come to learn more about it, and why I love to talk about it and share it with people. And most importantly, how to strengthen it, because once you know what it is and why it's important, then you want to know how you can have more of it. So that's what we'll focus on today, is giving your creative muscles a bit of a workout. And the only thing you'll need today is a bit of paper and a pen. So that's it. No other high technical skills, but I would invite you to really tune into this session. I know I have been guilty of this before, where you have a webinar on and maybe you have emails going or you have other things happening in the background, to really try to dedicate the next 45 minutes or so to stretching your creative muscles, because that's going to give you the outcome that you want, is being able to use them to help you innovate and solve problems. So first, I want to ask, how creative are you feeling right now? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am like Lady Gaga, Mozart level creativity off the scale, I could just create symphonies, or 1, I don't feel creative at all. How creative do you feel right now? Scale of 1 to 10, jump in the chat box, let me know. Okay, we've got a 6 from Charnina, a 4, a 1, a 5, 7, 4, 4 to 5, 8, 2, 4. Okay, now they're jumping quickly. Oh, we've got quite a mix here, from 2s and 1s to 5s, 7s and 8s. Yeah, 4. Great. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's just how you're feeling. So we're going to see what we can do about that in the next 45 here. Okay, a 3. Great. Thank you very much for that. So now I want to ask you, when you think about creativity, what do you think about when you hear the word creativity? What comes to mind? What words? What do you think of when you hear the word creativity? Art, inspired, imagination. Thanks, April. Being good at art, conceptual thinking, expression, fun. Yes. Art, lateral thinking, out of the box, doing artsy things. Some of these are going a little faster than I could go. Okay. Innovation, doing things differently, problem solving, doing things in a different way. Yes. Great. These are all really good answers. What we're going to talk about, how I want to position creativity for our session today, is something that is creative, is original, and it's useful. So thinking about ideas that are out there, people are coming up with new ideas. Let's say, for example, you probably all got a mobile phone. When they came up with the idea of having a mobile phone, it was a new idea and it had a use. So if you can compare some of the things on the market, sometimes people come up with an original idea, but if it's not useful, then it's not deemed as valuable to us. So what we want to look at is something that's original and useful. Great answers here. Thank you so much. And why do you think it matters? So why does creativity matter now? Why have you joined today? Why am I talking about it? Why is creativity important? Just jump into the chat box and share your ideas there. Why does creativity matter? Stands you out? Yep. To use both, make your work stand out from the crowd? Excellent. So a lot of these, setting yourself apart from the crowd, stop being monotonous. The world is changing, to look at an idea, push the boundaries, innovation, things can be done better and quicker, keeping things fresh. Yeah, mixing things up, being resilient. These are all great answers. Yes, creativity is so important because we need it to innovate and solve problems. So because some of us do associate creativity, there's a lot of creativity in things like art and music. But if we look at creativity as just something that's new and useful, then we can move it into any industry. And that's what makes it so exciting, because whether you are a data analyst or an accountant or a lawyer or a social media marketing person, I mean, whatever your job is, whatever your industry is, and whether you're in Singapore or London or New York or Spokane, Washington, or Des Moines, Iowa, or Birmingham, or Manchester, it doesn't matter. We can all use it. Creativity will help us no matter where we live in the world, no matter what job we do, no matter if we are a graduate starting out or a CEO or anywhere in between. Creativity is a skill we can all use, and it can help us. And places like LinkedIn Learning decided that creativity, they named creativity the most important skill that business professionals can master. They did this in 2019 and again in 2020. This is what people are wanting, and this research has been backed up. When I first started talking about creativity, I really had to dig to find research to support it. There was some, but now there's so much more. So it's IBM, it's McKinsey, it's Deloitte, it's Harvard. All of these big industry leaders and academics agree how important creativity is because it's going to help you. And to illustrate how creativity helps you solve problems, I want to just picture a scenario. Imagine that you own a supermarket chain, and think back a couple of months ago to supermarkets and what was happening, not just here in London and in the UK, but around the world. We started to have a situation where people were panic buying. And all of a sudden, shelves that would normally be stocked and full were empty. And customers weren't able to get the basics like toilet paper and soap and canned goods. And imagine you were in charge of a supermarket chain and you're thinking, how are we going to help our customers? And in particular, I want you to think about if this is your customer. You start seeing images like this of an elderly customer in your store looking at an empty aisle, empty shelves, unable to purchase anything. That's a problem. How would you solve it? Now, I'm sure there were a lot of people at a lot of supermarkets thinking about, how do we do this? Do we increase our online offering and trying to meet that demand? But sometimes creative ideas, sometimes the best ones, are really simple. And one idea that came out was to introduce early morning shopping for elderly and the most vulnerable. And just curious, which supermarket in the UK do you think came up with that idea first? Who was the first one to start offering shopping early morning for the elderly and most vulnerable customers? Tesco, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Iceland, Morrison's. Yeah, okay, we're getting them all in here. Sainsbury's, Co-op. Yeah, lots of guesses of who it might have been. Would it be your higher end, your Waitrose and your Marks and Spencer, or, your mid-range or your lower end? It's an interesting one to think of who came up with this idea. And congratulations, those of you who said it was Iceland, you are right. It was Iceland who came up with the idea to introduce early morning shopping. And of course, it's such a good idea. It's so simple, it's so easy that everybody followed suit. And it solved a problem, because that man in that picture might not know how to do online shopping or might not want to do online shopping. Maybe he enjoys going to the supermarket. Maybe it's part of his routine. We don't know people's situations, but we're coming into a solution that is just beautiful in its simplicity. It's just a really easy solution to that problem. But then you have more problems. Yes, well done, Iceland, indeed, for sure. Then you think about, once you have those products, how do you stop people from buying more than they need? Because as we saw, once the toilet paper is getting restocked, people are taking more than they need. And how do you stop people from doing that? And you might have seen some stores putting up signs, and maybe some of those would have been checked when you went to go buy them. Maybe they would say, sorry, the limit is 2. Maybe they just trusted you to honor what was requested on the sign. But here's a supermarket. This is called Rotundin. It's in Denmark. And they use creativity to solve this problem. So this is a bottle of hand sanitizer. And they sold a bottle of hand sanitizer for 40 krona, which is just under 5 pounds. So 5 pounds will get you 1 bottle of this. Now, if you want to buy 2 bottles, it's going to cost you 125 times the price. So 1 bottle is 5 pounds, 2 bottles is 125 pounds. Now that is a creative solution, especially flipping the script, because most of the time supermarkets, when you see buy 2, you save money. They flipped it to say it's 5 pounds for 1, 125 pounds for 2. simple, creative solution. But there's more. You then have the problem of social distancing. These supermarkets, how do you keep people away from each other? You know, we had originally when they initiated this 2 meters distance, 6 feet. How are you going to actually put this into practice? And you've probably seen this if you've been in a store in the last couple of months. A really simple solution was tape. Now, if you've ever worked in a corporate, like I have, you can imagine when some problems come up, the process and the sign-offs and the approvals, how decisions get made. But in this instance, they just had to make a decision quickly. And so they used a creative solution of just putting tape on the floor and marking the space so people knew where to stand. And you can add on to that, you know, limiting numbers of people in the store, and really regulating how people move around. But just having the tape there means there's no guesswork. Am I standing in the right place? Am I too close? Am I too far away? I know exactly where to stand. And you can see it's working in this instance. So that's just one industry using creativity in the last couple months to solve problems. But it's not just supermarkets. We've seen lots of creative ideas go around. So film companies, once it came out that we were not able to have movie theaters open anymore, film companies around the world were facing this problem of what do we do with these new release films that nobody can see in the theater? And what they did was decided to use video on demand. So this movie was one of the first. The Invisible Man was made available to rent for $20 US, which is more than you would pay to rent another movie, but it's cheaper than 2 tickets to the theater. And this has actually been really successful for the theaters that they've started to introduce it with other films to see. I quite appreciated the Trolls movie being offered on video on demand because I do not need the 4K experience to watch a movie like Trolls 2 with my kids. But this is an idea of saying, how are we going to get our movies out there? That's a creative solution. And alcohol companies and perfume companies who changed what they made to use their distilleries to make hand sanitizer instead of their regular products. That's creative. And then down here in the bottom, that's a Covent ventilator made by Dyson, who is known for their vacuum cleaners. They pivoted on that to introduce this ventilator, and they did a prototype. They made it in 10 days. So this is what happens when you get creative people working to solve problems. And just for fun, I saw this last week. This is time of year where a lot of people are graduating and obviously disappointed they can't have traditional graduation ceremonies. And so this is what some of the people have been doing around the world, from virtual online ceremonies through Minecraft and another game, Animal Crossing. The bottom left here, that's a picture of a graduation parade where the graduates got in cars that were decorated and they drove around in a big long parade. And then on the far right is a picture from Japan where they had avatars to give people their diplomas. So this is the power of creativity. It allows you to solve problems. And that's what I want you to take away from today, is that you need creativity to solve problems, because oftentimes people will say, well, I don't need creativity, Beth, because I work in finance, or I work in law, or I work in account, like I don't work in a creative field. I'm not a designer. But we can all use creativity because it helps us innovate and it helps us solve problems. And that's the beauty of it. You are creative. So for those of you who have probably, maybe you don't identify as creative, or you may have been told you weren't creative, or you think, I just didn't get creativity. It's, you know, like blue or brown eyes. I just didn't get that gene. It's nonsense. You are creative because you're a human being, and creativity is a human trait that we all have. And what's beautiful about it is it's a muscle that you can strengthen with practice. So wherever you're feeling on that scale from a 1 to an 8, I think was our highest, you can feel even more creative. You can strengthen that muscle just with practice. So that's what I want you to take away today, is to know that you have creativity within you and you can use it to innovate and solve problems. Now, I run this as part of a larger workshop. I do bigger workshops on creativity. And one of the things I like to talk about at the beginning is the rules of engagement when it comes to creativity. This is what I call the Beth Collier Wizard of Oz approach. So I love film and TV. Hopefully you've seen Wizard of Oz, or you're familiar with it. But when it comes to creativity, I ask you to use your brain like the Scarecrow, use your heart like the Tin Man, be curious and kind like Dorothy, and be courageous like the lion. And this point on courage is really important because creativity is hard. Like I'm going to be straight with you. It is hard. And if it weren't hard, everybody would be doing it. It's hard because when you have creative ideas, they are new and different by definition. And human beings cling to what they know. For all the people who say, I want innovation and out of the box thinking, oftentimes maybe you've experienced this where someone's asked you for different ideas. And when you give them different ideas, they end up not liking it or responding positively to that. And that's just, it's a natural thing for humans to cling to what we know and what we're comfortable with. And what I found really interesting when I was researching creativity is just how bad humans are at judging creative ideas. Things like Airbnb and Uber, for example, had a really hard time with, it got rejected tons because this idea of a car company that doesn't own cars or an accommodation company that doesn't own property, that's crazy. That's a strange idea. It's so different from what's out there. Things like, there's a great story about suitcases with wheels. I bet all of you, if you own a suitcase, it probably has wheels on it. And that was actually a really difficult thing to have happen. It took some creative minds more than 2 decades to get someone to finally agree to manufacture suitcases with wheels. Because at the time, one of the big luggage corporations thought that that was going to undermine masculinity, that men would be opposed to a bag with wheels because it would make them appear less strong. Talking pictures, movies as we know them today. There was a point in time when movies were silent and the technology became available for talking pictures. And the head of Warner Brothers Studios responded, who the hell would want to hear these people talk? Like, there's so many ideas, if you go back, that have been rejected just because they are new and different. So that's why I say it really takes courage to be creative. And what I'm going to ask you to do today is to try new things. And if some of it feels a little uncomfortable for you, just to embrace that discomfort, because that's what's going to lead to your creative ideas. Creativity by nature, not every idea is a winner. And sometimes you just have to keep going. You have to persist, and you have to be vulnerable to share that idea with someone, knowing that they may reject it, they may not like it, and just keep going. All right, so that's what we're going to look at now, is how can we strengthen your creativity? So we're going to get ready to do an exercise here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take a rocket to the moon with me. And what I want you to do, and I'm going to have to do on the honor system here because I can't see any of you, is ask you to stand up, and we are going to take a 15-second journey to the moon. So I want you to picture yourself standing in a green field. The sky is blue. It's a beautiful day. And you're going to take a rocket to the moon, go up to the moon, and then come back to Earth in 15 seconds. So I will do the time here for you, and we will get ready to take off to go to the moon. So I just ask you, close your eyes and get ready to now 3, 2, 1, blast off, go to the moon. Okay, and come back to Earth. So I would love to know, tell me about your journey to the moon. Hop in the chat here and tell me about your journey to the moon. Did you make it to the moon? Juddery, says Teresa. Made me smile and nearly cried. All right, I like that. That's great, Steph. It was quick, for sure. So now you're right about that. It is a quick journey to the moon. Maybe one day. Teresa, didn't get there, but enjoyed looking back at Earth. Great. Didn't quite make it, says Hannah. It was a rocky flight, dodging asteroids. Oh, I like that, Trudy. Nice satellite view, floaty. Soared high, but not quite there. Parts falling off. Oh gosh, Andrea. It was exciting. Managed to have a cocktail. Well, hello, M. We want to go with you. Didn't make it, but liked looking at Earth. Yeah, went around the dark side, saw the Earth leaving and returning. Still managed to get there. World disappearing at my feet. Quite calming, says Katie. Looking down, I could imagine flying straight there, looking down at the Earth and landing on the moon. So excellent. Sounds like you've had some great journeys to the moon. And no one has to isolate after that. It was all safely from the confines of our homes here. Saw the world disappearing below my feet, and then through the atmosphere and looked at the stars, took a couple steps on the moon and jumped back down. Priscilla, what a journey you've had. Fantastic. So how many of you, I'm just curious, did you wear a spacesuit? Did anybody picture themselves in a spacesuit? Did you picture yourself with like your arms up, like you were flying? No. Did not get time to prepare. Fair enough. No suit. Yeah. Spacesuit in a spaceship. All right, in a suit. I impersonated a rocket with my arms up. Yeah. I was in a rocket, but in a spacesuit, with a spacesuit and hands up. Fantastic. Didn't think about it. Looking outside at the view. No, but I could do somersaults. Fantastic. Mahiri, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I love your comment though. That's great. Improvised with PPE, says Jane. Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, I love it. There's such a variety here in your responses, and that's what's so cool, is just to see. I did a very quick moonwalk. I wonder if that was Michael Jackson playing in the background, Claire, when you did that moonwalk. Just curious. I actually did this exercise with children, with 100 7 and 10-year-old children, and I want to share with you what they said. So this is what 7-year-old children said to me when I asked them, did the exact same exercise with them. There was a football stadium. I had a party on the moon. I played tag. I saw dinosaurs playing rugby. The moon was made of chocolate. Now, jump ahead 3 years. These are what the kids who were 10 told me. I planted a flag on the moon. I took a moon rock. There were craters. There were aliens. I wore a jetpack. Now you can see that this is just 3 years, from 7 to 10. And there's been plenty of research on creativity, that when we are children, our creativity is high, at the highest in our life for most of us. And most children actually at some point are at genius level of creativity. Now that genius level comes down as we get older. And not just like adults in the workforce. It gets older, comes down as we start our junior high, high school, college. It starts to really jump down. And that's because we are a victim of our own learning. And you can see it here just at 10. They're learning about space, they're learning about planets. These are very practical answers. Maybe they've seen a picture of Neil Armstrong with the flag on the moon. There were craters, and they've got some ideas about what the moon might be like. Whereas a 7-year-old, they're not constrained at all. They're dinosaurs playing rugby. I mean, everything is open. And that's because when we're children, we are really good at coming up with ideas, with diverging, coming up with lots of ideas. But then as we become adults, we become very good at converging. So just making decisions. And that's what I want to encourage you to do, is to think about, how can you get your ideas to diverge, come up with more ideas? Because while you might not see dinosaurs playing rugby, you can always pull back from those ideas to think about, when you're looking to solve a problem in your workplace, not thinking of just the immediate things. And you see the difference here in what some of us visualize. It's a huge thing that has to do with our education. And there's a wonderful TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson. If you haven't seen it, I'd really recommend it, where he talks about our schools killing creativity, just for this reason, that the more we learn, we kind of let logic overtake our other thinking. Yes, Jane said conformity leads to a lack of creativity, as we want to be liked. Yeah, again, that's one of the reasons why creativity demands your courage, because it's vulnerable. You are vulnerable to say, I have an idea that involves dinosaurs playing rugby, to throw something out there that people might say, that's crazy. And you can see this a lot in workplaces, where somebody can really crash and stop the creative thinking just with a comment like, that'll never work here, or that's not how we do things here. We tried that once. Any kind of negative view to that can really make people clam up with their own creative thinking and their willingness to share ideas. So I want to encourage you to think about, how can you come up with more ideas, and encourage people around you as well to get into more of that creative divergent thinking. Love Sir Ken. Yes, Teresa. Yeah. So let's do another exercise. Now, what I'd like you to do is just get the paper in front of you, hold it landscape, and if you could draw 9 boxes, I'll give you just a minute to do that. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to draw a picture in each of these boxes. This is about we've warmed up your mind here creatively. Now we're going to connect your brain and your hand. So we're going to get you to do some drawings. Now, I can't see any of your faces on this, unfortunately, but normally when I talk about this, I do tend to get some eye rolls and some kind of uncomfortable looks, because a lot of people will say, I'm not very good at drawing, Beth. I don't like drawing. This is not about preparing something for the National Gallery. This is just about getting some creative thinking going. So I do not expect any masterpieces. This is just getting you thinking. Okay, so just have fun with it. I will give you a prompt. We'll start in the upper left-hand corner and go across, but it doesn't really matter. Just use a box for each of these prompts, and you've got 20 seconds to draw whatever comes to mind. So use drawing as much as you can, and I'll just give you a prompt here. Give you 1 second to get ready as I get my clock ready, and I will give you a prompt. You have 20 seconds for each of these drawings. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? So The first one, upper left-hand corner, I would like you to draw something that floats. Something that floats. Now for the second one, something with wheels. Something with wheels. For the third one, something that comes from an egg. Something that comes from an egg. Now into the second row, your fourth one, something that makes noise. Something that makes noise. Your fifth one, right in the middle, something that flies. Something that flies. Your sixth one, something you see every morning. Something you see every morning. Bottom row, something you eat. Something you eat. Eighth one, something that makes you happy. Something that makes you happy. And your last one, something you share. Something you share. Okay. How was that? Jump into the chat box. I'm curious how you found that exercise. Great, great. All right, fun. Excellent, interesting. Loved it, so Steph, thanks. Fun, interesting. It was amazing. All right. Positive warming, felt under time pressure. I wasn't, yeah, that can be tough too. Interesting, but enjoyed it. Challenging, therapeutic, thoughtful, fun. I loved it. Like being 5 again. Yes, Catherine, that's a great one. So much of creativity it is fun, it is childlike, is playing. Like sometimes people think that's frivolous to play, but if you get these great ideas, which you can when you're doing these play, like you're putting your mind in a different state. Made me laugh. Different. Yeah. What was the thing I'm curious, what made you happy? What was some of the things that you wrote to make you happy? Karen, that's okay. She said some of her drawings were obvious. She felt creative and not creative. Some of these will be more creative. You will think, I have a great idea on this one. And others, you might think less so. Yep, my family, the sun, cycling, books and dance, trees, bubbles, food I love, dancing, my wedding that, jumped on here, but I think that person is hoping they're going to be able to have their wedding. Family, aerobics, being in the mountain with my husband, family, my hobby, reading, chocolate, friends, summer, sunshine, watermelons. Isn't this great? These are all the things that make us happy. And look how many different ideas. And I'm sure if we kept going, you might, maybe that your friends or family are the thing that come to mind first of all, but then you might, if you were thinking about it more and more, you might come up with more ideas. And it's really interesting. If we were doing this in person, we could share our drawings to see, because I love seeing what people come up with. It's so interesting when you give people the same brief, like something that comes from an egg. Maybe some of you had a chicken or some kind of animal. I've had somebody else talk about a toy. If you've ever seen those Kinder Surprise chocolate eggs that have a toy inside. Have to draw a snake because the chicken went wrong. Yeah, and some of these things you might find. Fried egg, yes, that's true. That comes from an egg. Yeah, meringue. Oh, see, like this is what happens when you start thinking about this and sharing, and it's a fun thing to be collaborative with as well, because you might find that my idea plus your idea is an even better idea, or somebody else says to you, here's my idea, and that prompts you to think of something else. Karen had a fried egg. I'm hungry. I hear you. Yeah, so this is what can happen when you share those ideas and you just think in a different way. So you're using a different part of your brain and just to engage and think about, we have the same brief, but we come up with different ideas. All right, so now your muscles are getting warm now. I like it. What we're gonna do now, this is our last exercise, just checking. What I want you to think about is the ultimate desk, because probably right now, a lot of you are sitting at a desk. And if not, you have sat at a desk throughout your life, like when you're in school as a child, all the way up to when you get into the workplace. So we all know, we all are familiar with a desk, right? So I want you to think about the ultimate desk. If you could design a desk and money was no object, the only thing your desk has to do is perform the function of a desk. That's the only constraint I'm putting on you. You have unlimited budget, anything you want, as long as it performs the function of a desk. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes here to sketch out, just start drawing what your ultimate desk would look like. So you can draw it, and if you need to write to add features, you can. No pressure here at all, because we're not all going to be showing our pictures. So just want you to think about, what would the ultimate desk look like, and go ahead and draw that. I'll give you 3 minutes and some creative music for you as well, and get going on your ultimate desk. What would your ultimate desk look like? Starts now.
Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to make your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello. Up to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, and the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song. Check it out. Well, I'm Imp the Dimp, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight. But I'm the grand master with the 3 MCs that shock the house for the young ladies. And when you come inside and to the front, you do the freak spank and do the bump. And when the sucker MCs try to prove a point, the triple trio are with the serious joint. And from sun to sun and from day to day, I sit down and write a brand new rhyme, because they say that miracles never cease. I've created a devastating masterpiece. I'm gonna rock the mic so you can't resist. Everybody, I say it goes like this. When I was coming home late one dark afternoon, reporter stopped me.
Got 1 minute left.
She said she serves stories and she serves favors, that auditions on the mic. And the turntable is young reporter. I did adore, so I rocked the business time like I never did before. She said, damn fly guy, I'm in love with you. The Casanova legend must have been true. I said, by the way, baby, what's your name? Said I go by the name Lois Lane, and you can be my boyfriend, you surely can. Just let me quit my boyfriend called Superman. I said, he's a fairy, I do suppose, flying through the air.
April says she can describe it better than drawing it. That's all right. Do your best, April. It's all right. And yes, so now I did work at Barclays. Yep, I recognize your name. It's the small world for sure. All right, 10 seconds. Last creative touches.
you gonna do today?
Okay, so time's up. I hope you could hear that song. That is Rapper's Delight. I choose that for a reason. It's the first rap song that's ever written, and it's got such creative backstory where a producer said, named Sylvia, she hired two men to play bass, paid them $75 to just record 15 minutes of playing bass. And they asked her at the time, what are you going to do with this? She said, oh, I've got a couple guys. They're just going to talk really fast over it. And that is the very first rap song. So a creative idea, different, for sure. I just want to respond to one comment in here that I saw while you were doing this, where Andrea said, when you read others' ideas, it makes you think your answer is less creative. And so I don't want you to feel hurt by that, Andrea, of thinking if you see somebody will come up with an idea, this is one thing we did. There will be any of us, no matter how creative we are, someone will have an idea that you think that's more creative. But this is all about stretching your muscle. This is about you getting stronger, and you will have a more creative idea than somebody on one thing, and they might have something that they have solutions on something else. So it's just about stretching your muscles and getting stronger because you've got that creative talent. So let's talk about, yes, the first recorded rap song, indeed. Let's talk about your desks. So I want to know about some of your features of your desks. Unfortunately, I can't see your pictures, but okay, desk having wheels so it could travel anywhere. We'll put a lot of books and painting on desk for inspiration, an oven under the desk to bake cake, and life will be shorted. My desk did my filing, made my tea, gave me rest break reminders, excellent. Can move up and down, good one. Windows nearby and flowers. All curves, located in the mountains. Ah, that sounds nice. 3 positions, says Teresa, stand, sit, squat, or lie down. Steph says hers is curved, stylish, in front of the window with a panoramic view. Very soft in form and shape. My desk is basically a mini house. Fold in half to take outside. Great, especially on a day like this. Needs to be near a window with a bookshelf. Yeah. Mountain, forest, sea. Whoa, these are coming in faster than the, let me scroll up so I don't miss that there. I like the mountain. So we're seeing things about the scenery. A foot massager underneath. It's in Bali. Ooh, that sounds nice. Zone to accommodate all equipment. Built-in chargers will accommodate everything. Colorful surroundings. Clip-on bins for lipstick. Built-in yoga mat, coffee machine, raising desk, books. By the seaside with panoramic. So a lot of people thinking about the views and the features, floating and weightless. Ergonomic chair, yes, also floating. Massage chair. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, that's great. Okay, fridge, mood board, TV, music system. All right, great. So you're thinking about a lot of the features. Fantastic. And like I said, money was no object. And so I was not putting any conditions on this. It's just about what you would make your ultimate desk. So I'm just curious, how many of you started here? Started with something, thinking about a desk like this? Me? Yes? Yeah? Hmm? Yeah? Yeah, it's where, no, okay, some of you didn't? Yeah, yeah, yes. So most of us start there because we know a desk, right? A desk is a large flat surface. Look at, go look at desks online. It's probably a lot of people have been doing as they're looking for a better workspace at home right now. That's what desks look like, right? And that's what we know a desk to be. And so what we end up doing oftentimes, and this goes into creative ideas and innovation elsewhere, is we end up attaching things to what we know. So we call it innovation, but it's really just attachment. And if you think about, like, we all have one of these, right? The next one will come out, no doubt, and it will have some better features, better camera, some better software. It'll be better, right? But it will be an improvement. It won't be an innovation because this hasn't really changed since the one I had 5 years ago, other than the fact that the camera's gotten a lot better. I still do the text and the photos and use the apps just like I did on the first phone I bought, smartphone, obviously. These things we look at things and we put constrictions that aren't necessarily there. We put restrictions thinking a desk has to be a flat surface, but it doesn't. This begs us to ask, what is the actual purpose of a desk? What's the function of it? And some of you may have actually started to think about what the shape of your desk could take. And just want to pose to you, what would it be like if we started with something like this? Something that was really out there. Look at this. It's going to be a lot more comfortable than probably most of the desks we're sitting in, with a small surface and a screen attached. This is actually a desk you can buy. It's pretty expensive though. So I'm not sure when we'll be seeing it in workplaces around the world. But this is the whole idea around creativity, that oftentimes we put these restrictions that just aren't there. And we stop to ask the real question of, what's the problem? What's the purpose of a desk? What's the function of a desk? And then build the solution from there. So I just want to put that idea to you to think about in your work life, in your personal life. Where are there opportunities for you to just go really far out there? Because sometimes you can come up with an idea that's really out there and then pull back. It's much easier if you do it that way. You'll get a more creative idea if you go far and pull back rather than just attach something. You know, if I attach a coffee holder to my desk, I haven't really been innovative. I've just made it more convenient for me. So it's thinking about that idea of, what is actual innovation versus what are we just attaching to somebody's idea? But that's what we know, you know. So most people, when we do this, we start with the desk as we know it, because that's what we know. And so oftentimes we'll get to Q&A. We've got a little bit of time for Q&A, but one of the questions I'm often asked is, what can I do to strengthen my creativity? So you've done some of these exercises here and you can see what happens when you're thinking in a different way, but how else can you strengthen your creativity? And I've introduced this model that I call the ARC model. And so it stands for absorb, reflect, and create. So we start off, first of all, with absorbing information. So absorb information and this means watch TV shows, watch documentaries, watch TED Talks, read magazines, read newspapers, read books, and not just books that you think are going to help you. I'm not talking about reading business books or watching, really thought-provoking documentaries. You could be watching anything. You could be reading a comic book. You could be watching a TED Talk that has nothing to do with your work or interests. And in fact, I would encourage you to do that. The story I know about Rapper's Delight, I read that. It's a story about a music journalist. And I found, I read something about Ada Lovelace ages ago, and then was at the Barbican with a friend. And that prompted, when I saw something about Ada Lovelace, to remind me of something and make the link. And that's what creativity often has us do. We link these ideas that may not necessarily go together. A phone and a camera added together makes the smartphone we have today. So just absorb information and then give yourself time to reflect. So if we talk about where you get your creative ideas, a lot of people will say, oh, I get good ideas in the shower, or when I take a walk or a run or do yoga, or when I'm meditating, anything that just kind of lets your mind rest. Your mind needs to rest to actually come up with creative ideas. It's not like you can say, well, I've got 5 minutes, so I'll be creative right now. You got to let your mind wander and absorb. So absorb information and then create. So absorb it, reflect on it, and then create. So just to reiterate these key messages here, you need creativity. Hopefully you've seen today how it can help you solve problems and innovate, and that you are creative. As a human being, you are creative. And if someone's told you you're not, I want to invite you to ignore them and believe me instead when I tell you that you are creative, because you are. And you can strengthen your creativity with practice. So this is a muscle, just like any other muscle. You can strengthen it with practice. So I want to ask you now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how creative are you feeling now versus how you were when we started? 8, 9, 8, 9, loads more. All right, excellent. An 8 from a 2, fantastic. More than 10, a 15. Oh, great. A 9 versus a 7. Oh, these numbers are much higher. Oh, this is fantastic. That's great. And I want to know, what's one thing you're taking away from this session? Just one thing that you're taking away. Don't just build, go bigger. Be more childlike. Yep. That I can be creative. Yes, Sarah, absolutely. I am creative. Yes, you are, Annette. Don't create, whoa, another going fast, playful. Start big, work down. The exercise, good to open your mind. Don't forget to have fun. Absolutely. Time to arc. I like it. We can improve our creativity. There's no boundary. That's right. Play and have fun. My drawing sucks, Jody. It's all right, Jody, as long as you're having fun with it and trying. That's all. Most of us are not artists, and we're not having Picasso's talents in 30 seconds to draw masterpieces. That's okay. It's just about thinking and trying new things. Remind myself that just because others don't see the potential doesn't mean it isn't there. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are so many stories. I write about some of these on LinkedIn of things that people thought, that's a terrible idea. And they're all innovations. I mean, Post-it notes, probably everybody uses these. Took forever to get to the market. And even at the end, when it was about to go on the market, 3M, the executives there said, we just don't think they're commercial. and they became the best-selling item that 3M had. So yes, please take that as some inspiration, that just because someone doesn't get your idea doesn't mean it's not creative. Don't limit yourself with your beliefs. Yes, enjoy the play. Yeah, excellent. Those are all great. Love it. And I do write a lot about creativity as well as communication. I have another resource actually for those of you wanting to know how can I strengthen my creativity. I have something about a resource about how to be more creative and some tips and ideas to get you going to think about how to be more creative. And if you want to email me at beth@beth-collier.com, I'm happy to send that to you and share it with you. Because we cannot solve our problems with the thinking we used when we created them. Nice little Einstein quote there to remind us of the power of creativity. So now what I want to do is just turn over. We've got a little bit of time. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer. If you jump into the chat, or alternatively, if you raise your hand, then Leona very kindly can unmute you so you can ask your question. Oh. And please get in touch if you have questions about creativity, and check out my LinkedIn profile. I do write a lot about it. Follow or connect with me and email me if you would like to get those tips. I am happy to share that with you. Let me just put up so you can see that again. And have a great day. Go be creative.